Welcome back. What a privilege today to be able to sit here and just have a conversation with someone who I know pretty well, but I'm excited to get to know you even better today. So welcome, Emelyne Henderson, to the pod.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
Emelyne, congratulations. Congratulations on winning our Founders Scholarship Fund, being a winner for this year. But not just for this year, you are actually a two-time winner.
Yes, thank you.
So lot to cover today, but let's get started first by just getting to know you a bit better. And so, Emelyne, where's home? Where's home? How'd you end up in Charlotte? How'd you end up at Broad River Retail?
Yeah, so I grew up in Greenville, South Carolina. I moved there when I was just a baby, and I was there until I was 18. So I lived in the same house, went to the same schools, and then when I went to college, I actually came to Winthrop University in Rock Hill. So branched out a little bit, not too far from home, but still close enough where I could go and have some independence. And I really loved Rock Hill. I loved the Charlotte area, and eventually my dad did move to Kings Mountain, North Carolina. So after college, I kind of moved back in with him for a bit, trying to figure it out. And when I was looking for jobs on LinkedIn, Indeed, all those things, Caitlin Yagi, who was a recruiter for
Yes.
us, she actually reached out to me in 2018, right after I graduated, about an internship with Broad River. And I was a little nervous about taking an internship, really looking for a full-time, permanent job right out of college. But I came and I met with Heather and talked with her, who's my manager today still, and really fell in love with it. I love Charlotte, so I really wanted to come back and be around here. And it was really the best thing that I could have done for me, I think.
So cool. So
Mhm.
cool. So Greenville's a great place.
Yeah.
We have a location down there, of course.
Mhm.
And Caitlin Yagi, what a great, I know she's a big fan of this pod. So Caitlin, thank you.
Shout out to Caitlin.
Yeah, a big shout out to Caitlin. Wonderful coming in as an intern. You had a great experience at Winthrop. We're going to talk about that here in a bit.
Mhm.
Go Eagles, right? The
Yeah.
Eagles down there
Yeah,
in
go
Rock
Eagles.
Hill. Winthrop has grown. And so picking Winthrop, like what was some of the filters? Like what were you looking to do? Like what Emelyne back then, 9 years ago now, potentially,
Yeah.
since you're getting ready for a big anniversary with us here at Broad River. So what was the goal? What was the goal of enrolling in Winthrop? What did you want to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. Winthrop, when I toured it, and they say this and it's so cheesy, but it just felt like home. Like it felt like where I was supposed to be. And a big majority reason why I chose Winthrop is because I was actually an elementary education major, and they have a really great education program. So I did that for about a year and a half, and then ended up changing my major. I was involved with different organizations and leadership development on campus that I just really love and found a passion for.
Mm.
And I didn't know I had that in high school. So I think that kind of led me to say, hey, is this the right path for me, and really rethink it. So changed my major to human resources.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. And I love how open like you were to it. Because I think
Well, not so open. It took some time, but
it's going from being an elementary major to then saying, "Hey, let's make this shift." And it does take time. You're right. It does take time, but there's an openness to kind of course, pivoting. Right. Sometimes it's just all about like pivoting and just learning as you go. That's what college is all about.
Yeah.
All right. That's what college is. So experience at Winthrop. You had a great time. Enjoyed it.
yes, I loved Winthrop. I think I made the best decision. It really helped me, I think, grow out of my shell. When I was in high school, I was very shy, a little insecure, a little afraid to step out of my comfort zone. But at Winthrop, I really was able to, and I think that's what made the change a little easier. It was a little scary, but I knew it was going to be okay, and I had a really good community supporting me, and it just felt right. But I loved Winthrop. The friends that I made there, the people that I met, the professors that I had were also awesome.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Well, we've had some great success with our internship program, and you are by far one of our shining examples of what a great intern And I remember the conversation with Heather when it came to conversion time. It was a pretty you like those easy decisions, and so because you had such a great internship and just were bringing so much passion and energy, and I love that about you. And so Broad River Retail, like Ashley Furniture, like did you hear about it? Like when you saw the LinkedIn posting, like did any like why us?
Yeah. I always knew of Ashley Furniture. Actually, in high school, that's where I got my furniture that I still have today in my apartment, my bedroom set. So I've always loved Ashley. And funny story, before I worked for Broad River, I had a internship with a tire company. And I'll always tell people tires were evil to me. I could not stand talking about tires every day. And when I got this opportunity with Broad River, I really like furniture and I like making my home look nice. And um, so even that part of it was enticing to me because I came in, it was a really nice office.
Mm,
People actually looked happy and like they enjoyed what they were doing. And I'll tell people that all the time, in jobs I'd had before, there was a lot of complainers, right?
mm,
But when I came to Broad River and to Ashley, I could tell that everyone that I worked with just loved what they do and they loved who they did it with. And it was really that like community feeling. And I think that's kind of what pushed me to say, I'm going to go ahead and take this internship and see what happens. We talked a lot about growth and
mm.
kind of trajectory for my internship. So I think all of those things together, combined with Heather, I'll say a successful intern, a big part of that is their leader. And Heather's been a great leader, manager, mentor to me.
Heather's amazing.
Mhm.
Heather's amazing. She's coming up and actually just celebrated her 7 years with us,
Mhm.
and the internship program really her idea, and what a great first selection with you on our team. And so that crazy that you went and shopped with your family, with your dad, and that you still have your Ashley
Mhm.
furniture today. Like shout out to the Ashley Furniture quality team. Well
I know.
done. Well
Yeah.
done on that bedroom
It still
set.
looks great.
Of course it does. It's Ashley, the number one name in furniture. Like
Mhm.
I love it. That is so cool. I did not know that story, but
Yeah.
so you had some familiarity with Ashley, and I think you're exactly right. And nothing, not that there's anything wrong with tires, which I have like, no experience or know anything about other than like measuring the air,
Mhm.
and hopefully I don't run over like a nail, which I've done multiple times.
Many times,
That's
yeah.
but they fix it. They fix it. So congrats. Take me back, take us back here for folks that are listening to the first time and even the second time, like when you got the phone call. And you work with us. You're a senior memory maker experience specialist. So like you have grown. You talked about growth. Well, no better story than the one sitting in front of me right today. Like
Mhm.
you have continued to be just high performance growth, being additive to what we have going on here at the river. And so when you got those phone calls about this founder scholarship fund and that you won, like what did it sound like? Where were you? Tell me about the emotions of that.
Yeah. Just first, just like a lot of pride.
Mm,
I think the first time I applied last year, I really didn't know what to expect. And receiving the Diamond Scholarship, I was just really proud of myself. I didn't know where I would land or if I would earn it, but just like immediate pride in myself and what I've been able to do, and that the words I wrote spoke to whoever was reading it
mm,
enough to give me a scholarship to continue my growth. And a lot of excitement because I hadn't been to school in 4 years and I love school. I loved Winthrop. So starting kind of a new chapter. And then I think the other thing is just a lot of gratitude.
mm.
Getting my master's is something that I've always dreamed of and I've always wanted to do. And financially, I just didn't know how I was going to make it work. But thankfully, this has taken a lot of that burden. So I'm just really grateful that I have earned it now 2 years in a row, and it's really helping me do something I've always dreamed of and pay for it along the way.
That's so cool.
Mhm.
You've absolutely earned it. No doubt about it. And here's the cool part about the story. So for continuing your education, right? So, we've talked to folks here on the pod who were just graduating high school, getting ready for that 4-year degree. And I love this story. I love this story as well
Mhm.
because you've got a great 4-year degree. You've got some amazing experience.
Mhm.
You've helped us grow. You've helped us grow. You've grown, right?
Yeah.
And so now it's like, okay, like you're not scared of these big goals that you're throwing out there. And so like what advice for other current memory makers that are with us today,
Mhm.
across the enterprise, across Broad River Retail, that are thinking about, oh, man, I haven't been to college in like 5 years, 8 years, 10 years. Like, why not? Why not start now?
Yeah. I think advice would just be like find something you love and that you're passionate about. Because I think once you've done that, it gets a lot less scary. Because then you want to go to the next step. I think for me, this was all about, I have gone and gotten my 4-year degree, and now I've learned so much. And I've learned so much in my experience over the last 4 years, 5 years with Broad River. So, how much further can I go, and how do I put that like book knowledge behind it and go and learn ways to be strategic? And I think that anyone at Broad River going back to get some type of education, whether it's certificate, master's, whatever it may be, their first degree, just do it. Like it is so valuable. And I remember when I got the scholarship the first time and I was starting school again, I was really nervous. I was talking to Heather. I was like, I'm gonna try to manage it all. I don't know exactly how yet. And she knows exactly what I need sometimes because she looked at me and she was like, people do it every day and you can do it. And I was like, "Whew, okay, I feel better. I can do it. So it is challenging, but I'll say, if anything, it's helped me better manage my time and
Mm,
be a better leader and contributor.
I love that. Great
Mhm.
advice. Great advice. Just do it. There's folks doing it every day. Heather
Mhm.
came in with a noise there, huh? She didn't. Man,
I know.
that's
She tells me how it is.
she
Look.
does. She does. She's like, just like, that's awesome. Well, good. Well, it worked, and I'm glad it worked because I had the privilege of reading both of your essays,
Mhm.
and to your point, like they were authentic, and they spoke to us about really what this whole Founders Scholarship Fund is. It's
Mhm.
rooted in people. It's rooted in amazing stories, and it's really rooted in giving back. And I know how important that is to you, giving
Yeah.
back in our community. And so tell me, like, I love the phrase in quote, "To whom much is given, much is required." And
Mhm.
so, what do you love to do? How do you give back? How do you now kind of go pour into the community or into others? So, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I love that. I do a lot within Broad River. I love all of the partners that we support. So I really try to get out with Beds for Kids as much as I can, as much as that opportunity provides me. So community wise, a lot through my classes, what I've really enjoyed is we do a lot of consulting for projects. So recently I got to work with Burn Boot Camp
Oh,
and
very
do
cool.
some kind of like pro bono consulting with a group of my teammates for them. And that was really exciting. And then just like furthermore down the line, my like big dream one day is
Yeah.
to be a professor. So I think with that, you have to have really great experience and a really long, successful career. But I do want to eventually be able to impact students and lead them kind of down the path that I
Mm.
was led down.
How cool is that,
Yeah,
Professor Emelyne
I
Henderson?
know.
I like the way that
That's a
sounds.
big dream, but
It's a great dream.
yeah.
What is that? What's the name of that class?
Oh, that's a great question. That one might stump me. A lot recently, what I've been thinking about through my studies is empowerment.
Mm,
Because I think that's something that's so crucial to not, just do it for someone, but to give them the tools and the guidance necessary and let them shine on their own. So something to do with empowerment and how to use, your power, whether that be, given to you by title
yeah.
or reference or whatever, and help that to empower people that are your peers or younger generation, something like that.
Like a force for good,
Yeah.
right? Being a force for good. Yeah, that is
Right.
so cool. What a gift, Emmeline. I've met some of your professors because one of the things that has been interesting and cool to see is how involved, and you just mentioned it with your colleagues or your former classmates, and
Hmm.
how involved and connected you've stayed with Winthrop, which is
Yeah.
which is great. Our offices are in Fort Mill, Rock Hill's down the road,
Hmm.
and so we've had the pleasure of having some of your professors who you have a great relationship with come and
Yeah.
speak to all of our memory makers.
Hmm.
And so tell me about, can you like mentorship, like who there kind of do you look to as a sounding board or a mentor that you can kind of point back to had a positive impact on your college career?
Yeah, so Tracy Griggs has come to speak with us. She
Yes.
was great. Melissa Karsten was my advisor, so she really helped me through switching my major and then making sure I was motivated and felt good about getting a job after college because that was always nerve wracking. So those are two big mentors. But I would say one of the biggest mentors I had at Winthrop, her name was Patricia Riley,
Okay.
and she was part professor, part manager for me. So when I started at Winthrop, I joined a program called Emerging Leaders, which was for 20 to 25 freshman students, first year students. And that really is what's kind of started this path of like wanting to change my major.
Mm.
And Patricia really led that program. And so I was in it my first year, and then the following 2 years, I was the student coordinator for it. So she was partly my manager. And I just think that she saw in me what I couldn't see in myself
Mm.
at the time. And, I was really nervous to apply to be the student coordinator. And she really came to me and said, "Why haven't you applied? Why haven't you done this?" And I think it was just like a lack of self confidence at the time. And, she continued to, challenge me and believe in me. And that is really, I think, what changed my entire path and led me to change my major and everything. That's why I'm here. And so I'm always so thankful to her. I think she was my biggest mentor throughout that time.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, isn't it amazing how those people just kind of they they play such an impactful role. Sometimes we just have to be open, right?
Yeah.
Open to kind of hearing and listening and just sitting on kind of ultimately what could be out there, like and so you had that's a great example of just being open, being receptive,
Mm.
and I'm sure you had a great time being that student coordinator.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah. It was the most impactful thing about my undergrad. And um, it really made me develop this passion for like peer development
mm,
and coaching and leadership development. And actually, I minored in leadership studies. And fun fact, if you're at Winthrop and you're an education major, you can't minor in anything. And so I continued to do the minor classes, and I was like, why don't I just change my major so that I can make it how I want? But yeah, I think she really sparked that change. So,
good for you. Good
mhm.
for you. Customize away. Customize away. Okay, so um, continuing ed, masters. You've taken classes.
Mhm.
Um, what's tell me about like, favorite class you've taken.
Yeah. So I have two that are kind of similar. They're taught by the same professor.
Okay.
So last semester I took Leadership Development 1. It's a two-part that I'll take again next semester. And then this semester I'm taking Transformational Change.
Ooh.
They're both with Dr. William Sparks. And then that second one also is with Dr. Liz Rapide. Both so eye-opening, really in leadership development you start to realize kind of your own leadership style. We create like a leadership vision, purpose,
Mm,
and understanding your style and then your shadow. So, like that part of yourself that others don't get to see and that, could be, bring out your worst self. And how do you how do those coexist together?
mm,
And I think that's been very eye opening for me. Something that I found out about myself is I would never call myself this before, but this year I just started saying it. I'm like a perfectionist, and I think that I project that onto other people, and I get worrisome and reactive. And I think, these classes and learning more about myself and developing this leadership vision statement has helped me to go back to that.
mm.
When I'm stressed and I want to worry and I want to react, it helps me to refocus and then say, who do I want to be and how do I want to be perceived? And yeah, that's been super helpful. And I'm excited to take part 2 next semester.
So next semester, taking part two.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, really cool to have that self awareness and to
Yeah.
kind of like open those doors of how do I become a better leader, right? And I think that eh, you know I think that's continuous, right? I mean, we're learning every day. I'm learning a bunch on this interview here, and one of the cool things that Emelyne that that you do really well for all the memory makers at Broad River is you're present. You're present. and I mean, I can't even imagine the amount of emails because you're all over our Memory Maker experience with a lot of our new hires and retail performance, and just making sure that they feel welcome. I love the day one emails. Take that video, but you make them feel. You make them feel known. You make us feel known, and I think that's such a superpower. So I'm excited for you to. And here's the great part is, as you continue to invest, like it's just gonna continue to pour over into the amazing leader that you already are. So congrats on that. That's
Thank
super
you.
super cool. That's super
Thank
cool.
you.
Okay, so podcasts. Are you a podcast fan? You won't hurt the audience here if you're not. But do you like listening to podcasts? Are you more of a
Yeah.
streamer? Like what do you?
I do like listening to podcasts.
Okay.
I struggle with it because I like to listen while I'm driving or doing my makeup,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a notes person.
Mm.
So it's really hard for me to listen to like developmental podcasts when I can't take notes, and I always find myself rewinding. So not as much podcasts. I listen to Stories from the River,
Yep.
and then I really like Craig Rochelle.
Yeah. That's great.
He's great, and he's easy to listen to, but I always find myself rewinding because I'm like, what did I just miss? What did I not get that? So I do like TED Talks a lot because
Yes.
then I watch it and I take notes and I watch the speaker. And then I do listen to a lot of podcasts that are more like recreational. So I'll listen to like Dear Hank and John is one of my favorites. Office Ladies, things like
Okay.
that are just for fun, and you don't have to really like fully
Keep
be
it
in
light.
there. Yeah.
I love that. Craig
Yeah.
Rochelle's great.
Yeah.
He actually just had a great podcast this week with John Maxwell, which is really, really
Oh,
good.
yeah, I'll
So
have to do that one.
yeah, and I do the same thing. I try to keep a balance between
Mhm.
whether it's some business ones or some leadership ones, and then keep it light. I'm a big fan of Men in Blazers, which is
Yeah,
uh,
soccer.
yeah, there you
My
go.
boyfriend's a huge soccer fan,
Okay, does
so
he have a club, a team that he?
Chelsea.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Tough season for the
Really
Blues.
tough season.
Tough
I've learned
season
so
for.
much about soccer.
Yeah, I mean, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's you knew they had a tough season. You know
Yeah.
that they're called the Blues. Like check.
Yeah.
You guys now do you know where they play?
London.
They do.
You made me double
No.
double
They
guess
they
that.
play in London. Do you know what the name? Because everyone has like the.
Oh,
Oh, this would be
yes.
huge.
He's gonna kill me that I don't know
He's
this.
gonna listen. He's required to listen to this. So.
Yes, he is. I would know it if you didn't ask me.
I know.
I know Mason Mount. I know the
Yes.
players.
Yeah.
What was the
Stanford
Stamford Bridge.
There you go.
There we go.
You said it. You said it. You said it before I could even get it out. It's wonderful. All right. Plans for the summer. What are you
So-
gonna do this summer?
I'm taking 2 classes this summer. So that partially. I don't have any big trips planned, but my sister and my boyfriend's sister are both having babies in July.
Oh, come on.
So 2 new little babies that I'll
Yes.
probably be spending a lot of time with, which is exciting.
It's super exciting. And are they both local? Are you gonna be able to travel?
Well, my sister's in Greenville still, and then my boyfriend's from Charleston, so that's where his sister lives. But we go visit Greenville and Charleston pretty frequently.
Not bad places to
No,
visit.
not bad places to visit.
All right, so you're going to be busy this summer, meeting some new family members. We'll pray for just some really precious time with them both. That's awesome. That's awesome. What a fun thing to look forward to this summer. So let's. I think dreaming is cool, right?
Mhm.
So let's just dream a little bit. So what's Emmelyne's dream job? We already know what your name of your class is going to be when you're a professor.
Right.
But let's continue to dream even bigger. So like, what's the dream job look like? What's it look like? What's it feel like? What's it have as a part of it?
Yeah. This is hard for me when you say this because I feel like I'll always tell people, like, I feel like this job just kind of luckily fell into my lap. Like, I was looking for jobs, but the recruiter reached out to me on LinkedIn for
Thank
Broad
you,
River.
Caitlin.
I know. Thank you, Caitlin. But I felt like this just ended up being the perfect role for me, and it's what I could have imagined for myself, even with the change from learning and development to now memory maker experience and moving into that. Like, it's better than I feel like I could have imagined for my first job. And thinking about like a dream role, I want to continue to lead people. So I've really enjoyed leading a team and an intern, and just continuing to get better at that. And I really want to be an impactful leader. So this year, I think that Jocelyn and Heather have challenged us to think a lot more strategically than we have in the past. And so just continuing to do that, being a part of a business where I can really make a difference and an impact and do it, by slowing down and being intentional and taking those steps that are really needed instead of rushing in, right? So, really creating an environment where people feel fulfilled and love to come to work, where my team feels like they can trust me. I think that's kind of like the dream. Also, I'm going to throw this in there. I've always wanted to run an internship program. That's a big dream.
Okay,
So
plug. That's a plug.
I know our talent team's working on it a little bit. So I'm not going to steal their thunder. But I just had such a great experience as an intern. And I really believe in an intern the way our team's developed. So I think that would be really cool.
It's a great little plug.
Mhm.
And who better to talk about an internship program than you? Just a great example of what a great intern and what a great internship program looks like. So I like it. I like it. That could be a future podcast series, like summer with
Yeah.
our interns, right? Come
Yeah. Yeah.
bring our interns through. So, all right. So human capital, right? Human resources, people, right? Ultimately, it's people. And so I think a lot of folks might have the question or might say, well, how do I get involved in that field of business? And why would I, you know, why would I pick human capital or memory maker experience? Like, what does it take? And what advice would you give to those who are contemplating, making a shift or like you did at Winthrop and going into the human capital side, going into the people side of the business? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think something that I'm learning recently through like my classes and my experience is like it is about people, but it's also about the business.
Mm,
Like something I'm learning in my people analytics class right now is really all about like what we're doing affects our people, but then how does it all relate back to the business purpose and the business strategy and how it all kind of works together. And I've always loved the people side of it, right? The impact on people. Some of my favorite things is when people call me because they trust me
mm,
and they need help or they need to know where something is. I love that. I'm a very like helpful person. But something that I'm realizing is it's like it's also a big part of the business and it's a big impact on business strategy and purpose and like being able to impact people at work and how they feel about their job and how they are engaged at work and also how they feel about their home life because if
mm.
you're going home from a job that you don't like and is really stressful and is difficult then that's going to affect who you are at home and so how do we find that integration and balance and I think that if you're wanting to go into a role like this, you're always going to be passionate about people. That's always going to be a big thing for you. But it's also about how do we then manage our business to promote our people and challenge our people and grow our people and then get the best people to then help our business because it all works together.
It sure does. For us, when we contemplated the change from human resources to human capital, a lot of what you just said was some of the conversation that we had
hmm
years ago.
hmm
Because for us, we are in the people business. I love being in retail. I do. I was a finance econ major, but I love retail. I love that it's every day. Um, well, not every day. We get some days off. But I love that we get to make a difference.
right.
But we can only do that together,
hmm
and it's so much more powerful. It's so much more impactful,
Right.
and really, it's so much more rewarding when we get to do it with others. It's so cool. So that's great advice, and I love when I hear about folks that want to, you know, come do a tour of duty, come do a project and partner with human capital. Like,
hmm
come on,
Yeah.
come visit because it's what you'll learn is it is all about the people. It is
hmm
all about the people. I love what we do every day, but we can't we can't deliver on that promise without all of our teams connecting and communicating together.
Yeah.
So important. Um, so advice. You think about your time, um, whether it's at college, or just kind of best advice that you've received that's kind of helped you with education, helped you just with your overall studies.
Yeah. So the best advice I've received also comes from Patricia Riley, who I kind of mentioned before. She was like my mentor. And at the end of my college experience when I was graduating, she wrote me a letter.
Mhm.
And I still have that today. But in that letter, something she wrote that's always really stood out to me. She said, Emmeline, you always say that like I challenge you and I push you, but really you challenge yourself and you open doors for
Mm.
opportunities. And I think part of that, she was still trying to build my confidence. She was still trying to let me know that like I've got this, and trying to help me see that like I have ownership over my growth and help me continue to take those chances that are a little scary or do things that I'm a little uncomfortable with. And I think she really put that back on me to say, like, you do it for yourself and you think other people challenge you and you put it on other people, but really, like, take ownership of it and, you know, take pride in it
That's right.
too of what you've done. So I really appreciate her for that. And I have not forgotten that.
Professor Riley, several mentions and shout outs on the
Yeah.
pod. So I'm sure she'll listen to this. And how about the power of just writing a handwritten note? Like,
Right.
like that's timeless. Like
Yeah.
taking the time, intentionality to put pen to paper and just
Yeah.
and think about that. That's 7 years. I mean, removed, and you still have it. You still
Yeah.
have it. You still reflect on it. And, the power of that note that probably took several minutes, but the thoughts that still exist today and still mean a lot today. So
Yeah.
that's really cool.
The funny thing about that is too, she hand wrote it and then she also typed it because she wanted to make sure
Wow.
I could read her handwriting. But I think she also believed that there's really power in handwriting.
Handwriting it.
So she gave me both, but because she didn't think I would be able to read her handwriting. But that
That's
shows the
pretty
power behind it,
That's
really.
really, really cool.
Yeah.
She wanted to make sure that message got across.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
so impactful. Thank you for sharing that. I
Of
love that.
course.
I love that. All right. So tests, quizzes, studying.
Right.
I always love hearing about what you do when you're getting ready for studying time. So
Yeah.
best practices for the listeners today as they're getting ready for exams or as they're taking some summer classes. How do you what do you do to study?
Yeah, I have some habits that I developed in undergrad that maybe aren't the most
Yeah, yeah.
healthy. But when I was in undergrad, when I would go to the library, I would always grab a snack and a drink. So trying to choose more healthy options now. But at the time it was like chips and soda and now it's like apples and hummus,
Ooh.
and carrots. But really just something to like focus on and like zone out with, I think is helpful. I listen to a lot of lo-fi music when I'm studying, just to get everything outside on the outside and you really focus in. And then another thing, which isn't really a study tip, but it's just like a tip in general, and kind of like for prioritization. So, me knowing myself, I know that I will procrastinate. So, I have to give myself deadlines ahead of time. And one thing that's been really helpful for me is we have a writing center at Queens,
Hmm.
and most schools do have a writing center where you can go and they'll read your paper and make sure that grammar's correct, structure's correct, things like that. So when I started school again, I hadn't written a paper in 4 years. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make an appointment. And I made my appointment for about a week before my paper was due. And that helped me so much because I had to have like at least 90% of the paper done for them to make critiques on it. And so that's what I've done moving forward
Super helpful.
is I just make an appointment so that I know it has to be done ahead of time. So that's like a good trick that you can do if you're a procrastinator, to make sure everything's on time and it's really good quality.
Way to know yourself. Way to
Yeah.
know yourself. All right. So, but and I usually like to kind of dig into the snacks question because I was a snacker,
Yes.
from one snacker to another. I was a snacker as well. So, we can't go with the vagueness of soda and chips. What were those favorite chips?
Usually something like Doritos, a Coke.
High on the list for me.
Yeah, and then always something chewy. And
Mm,
that sparked out of, okay, I'm eating too much. If I take something chewy like sweet tarts, then at least it takes me a while to eat it.
there you
And so
go.
it lasts
Lasts
while I'm
longer.
studying. So always something chewy.
I
Even
love it.
today, I usually do something chewy.
That's so
Yeah.
fun. That's so fun. Yeah, I was Doritos or Cheetos,
Mhm.
and I think I stuck to water. I was always been pretty
That's
keen
good.
on the water, so I guess I get half of it right. But but study habits are always cool, and it's interesting to hear how they vary between each of the folks that have won
Yeah.
the scholarship. So congrats on Queens. Tell me about like how'd you select Queens, and and kind of tell us what you love about it.
Queens is so great. I am so glad that I made the decision
Mm,
to go to Queens. I think what really stood out to me in their program was it wasn't just a program where you log in and you do your work and you submit it in a discussion post. I get to meet weekly with my classes, so we meet once a week for 3 hours. So I still get that interaction
yeah,
with people. It is virtual now since the world has changed, but they also have in-person opportunities. So
sure.
I have some classes that I spend a whole Saturday or a whole weekend in person, but it's with people, and I feel like that's when I get the most out of it. And then they also do like a residency where you go and you meet your cohort for 2 days. And I just really love that Queens still tried to keep that engagement going even through, pandemic and having to transition to virtual classes. I do not think that I would thrive in a class where I don't have like people around to help
Interaction.
me and talk to me through it. And, I've made a lot of like really great friends and peers through even just this past year. So that's been really great too.
That's wonderful.
Mhm.
Well, Queens is a great school.
It is.
It's a beautiful campus there
Mhm.
in Myers Park. So excited that you're enrolled, that you're continuing your education. And so you mentioned kind of how things have changed. So tell me about COVID and the kind of what did you learn? What did you take away um, between working, newly graduated, working, and then thinking about continuing your education? Like what were some of the key lessons learned during COVID for you?
Yeah, I think there was so much like you don't expect like that in your first job. I think I was like 23 probably when COVID happened. I don't even know. But you really don't expect a worldwide pandemic that shuts everything down. Like that's just not something you can prepare for.
Not on the bingo
And
card.
no,
Not on the
no.
bingo card.
And so I think, first of all, it was really scary
Mm,
because I didn't know what was going to happen, how things were going to go. It was like one week we were all in office, and then the next we were at home. And so I think that, like, what I learned through that is that first of all, I love the town halls that we implemented.
mm,
I feel like, I was on furlough at the time. And even on furlough, it helped me still feel like I was a part of the company to attend the town halls and hear the updates of what's going on. And oftentimes did it on like long walks. So,
mm,
like, pandemic also helped me prioritize my health a little bit
mm,
more. And two, I think that it helped me be more creative because when you have downtime, you have to get really creative with what you're going to do with it. So I think having that time helped me just kind of reflect and think about, what do I want next? And coming back was amazing. I was so happy that, it still felt like almost like normal, like
mm,
coming back and coming into it. It was less people in the office, it was very different, but it felt good to be there,
yeah,
and just continue to grow and, really consider how does this impact not only, our people and their jobs, but their mental health
yeah.
too. So thinking through some of those things, especially with like Retail 101 training program that we run, how do we now transition that to virtual and still make it engaging and make sure people feel taken care of? And I think through that a lot we heard about their experience in the pandemic and just being there to support them through a new career that's probably pretty scary, I think was really impactful for me.
That's so cool.
Mhm.
Such a great lesson to learn, and such a valuable perspective because, yeah, we get like we said, this wasn't on anyone's bingo card, and so when we were dealt those cards, we kind of leadership, right? Leadership is communication, so we
Mhm.
wanted to make sure that we could communicate on a consistent basis. Number one, keep everyone safe.
Mhm.
Um, and it helped. I mean, you mentioned you started walking. I did the same thing. I
Yeah.
just started walking because it helped kind of just
Mhm.
take a breath, right?
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that. So when you're not loving on our folks in memory, as part of the Memory Maker Experience team, and you're not studying for your next big test or collaborating with your classmates at Queens, like what does Emmeline enjoy doing?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I really like being outside, so this weather is great for me. Um, we like to we'll even go to the mall, the outlet mall in Charlotte, and walk around because it's outside. So just doing anything outdoors. There's a dog bar near Broad River, actually, that we like to go to and take our dog.
Okay.
Anywhere we can take our dog, he goes with us. So we love hanging out with him and my boyfriend Clay. And I also love to shop. That's a bad habit of mine, I guess, but I love to do it. It really helps me just feel good you want to feel good in what you wear, right? So
That's right.
I love to go shopping and just spend time with my family and my dog and my boyfriend and be outside. Yeah.
I love it. Well, we have a lot of dog lovers that subscribe and love this pod. And so I have 2 pups. Murphy's a King Charles Cavalier and Teddy is an Aussie Doodle. And so tell us about your
Our dog's name is Nimbus.
Nimbus.
Yes, like cumulonimbus.
Okay.
And he's kind of a mutt. He's got some poodle in him because he's really curly, but we think he's also part schnauzer.
Okay.
So we're not fully sure, but he's a little brown dog, and he is a COVID baby. We did get him during COVID as well, but that was perfect. So we were able to potty train him and everything. So he's just the best thing ever. Like, I love coming home and he runs to me and we play, and it's really nice to have him there.
You got a Chelsea hat for him or anything?
He has a Chelsea bow tie. Exactly. I also make dog bow ties, if you didn't know that about me, Manny.
There you go.
Yeah. So he has a Chelsea bow tie.
We're going to have to attach a picture of that to this podcast episode. That is awesome. A Chelsea bow tie for the pup.
Yes.
Love it. Love it. All right. 5-year goal. What's 5 years from now? Tell us some of the goals.
Yeah. It's so funny when we get asked that question, because 5 years ago, I don't know if I would have guessed what I'd be doing today. But I think 5 years from now, being in a leadership position where I can really impact a team and impact people in the business, I think that's important to me. I've developed this leadership vision statement through class, and it is to be a confident, inspiring leader who prioritizes the care, development, and empowerment of others. Awesome. And I think that 5 years from now, if I feel like that's what I'm doing, then I'll feel great about it. So I think that's what I keep going back to, and that's kind of what's leading me forward.
What a great response. Not surprised. And what a great testament to like what you're putting into practice, the stuff that you're learning every day.
Yeah.
I love that. And thank you. Like, you're making us better. You're making all of our folks in Memory Maker Experience team better because of you choosing to invest in yourself first. Like, that is so, so important. And Emelyne, that's part of why this program is so important. And we started the Founder Scholarship Fund in honor of the 2 founders, Jackson and Jonathan, because of how important education is. And so I can't think of a better recipient, a better winner than you, because you embody all that. Like, when you talk about your classes, when you talk about the projects that you're working on, you can see how excited you are. And so it has been a pleasure. It has been a pleasure to sit and chat with you and just catch up. But ultimately, super grateful to have you on the team. Super grateful that you are leading and just looking after our memory makers so, so well. What final thoughts about the program, about the scholarship fund, anything else?
Yeah. I think I'll just end again with gratitude. I am so grateful to have this opportunity. I'm so grateful that each year, my essay has spoken to the readers and said something about what I can do for Broad River and what I can do through my education. And I just really appreciate this opportunity. I love school. I'm so passionate about going back to school. So I'm just very thankful to have received it and continuing my education, and hopefully can use it to better myself and Broad River and the community and all of those things.
Well, thank you. We are a better and a much we're just such a strong team with you on it. And so thanks for all that you do in helping us with our purpose, right? Our purpose at Broad River is furnishing life's best memories. And that's what it's all about. And you help us do that every day. So thank you, Emelyne. It's great having you on the pod today.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. Join us again next week And remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.